closing arguments in EFF leader Julius Malema's firearm discharge case has been postponed to the 23rd of January next year. He and his bodyguard, Adriaan Snyman, are accused of firing a weapon during the party's 5th anniversary celebrations in 2018. Newzroom Afrika's Sipha Kema joining us live now from East London, and that's where this court case was being heard. Sipha, good afternoon to you. So, yet more postponements. At the same time, we understood that this would be a court case about closing arguments. How far are we from that particular goal of ending these arguments back and forth?
Well, by the look of things, Xoli, with what we've seen in court today, it's going to take a bit of time as the court was adjourned mid-submission of Advocate Lawrence Hodes, who represents accused number 1, EFF leader Julius Malema. He did indicate just before 4 o'clock that he still has just a bit of, a long way to go. He will definitely not finish today. Thereafter, we are also expecting Advocate Sean Matthews, who is representing Adriaan Snyman, Malema's personal protector, to also give his own closing arguments. I mean, we also started late today, so that's why even the time was not sufficient. But even if we had started at 9 o'clock, it would not have been sufficient. Now, today, Xoli, accusations were flying around during the closing arguments. I mean, even Advocate Hodes saying that the charge sheet that was brought by the state was adapted to suit the evidence. But the NPA had the biggest accusations that they've made, saying that it is no coincidence that the bridge block was removed from that particular firearm that was taken into evidence, also stating an issue of serial numbers, but also mentioning that the state believes it was done deliberately so that it could affect the outcome of the ballistic tests. This is what Advocate Jules Caesar had to say about that.
What Lega testified, as I've already alluded to, that he received the batch of firearms, which included this particular firearm. He performed several tests on these firearms. SPA was the only firearm whose breech block and firing pin serial numbers did not correspond with the rest of the serial numbers on the firearm. So in other words, from all those firearms, 14, 12, 14, if my memory serves me correctly, Your Worship, I stand to be corrected, it's 28, it's about 40 of those rifles which he examined, or the firearms that he examined, and this from that 40 is the only rifle whose parts were changed. It's no coincidence that that bridge block was removed, because it seems to be important when it comes to the rest of the spent cartridge as to how positive tests would have been conducted.
A very interesting take there, Sipha. So, the Malema camp, where do they stand on these arguments?
Well, the Malema camp, Xoli, was also, of course, throwing their own accusations, but they are adamant that the state has no case and no sufficient evidence, even making examples of saying that none of the witnesses, 19 witnesses brought in by the state, had actually said they saw accused number 1 firing any weapon. He also mentioned that showing the pictures of where the stand was at Sisa Tukashe, saying that the setup, according to what the setup looked like, it would have been impossible for the cartridge to land where the state says the BCM worker or cleaner had picked up the rifle cartridges, stating that there were structures that were there, he said that had those cartridges then flown out, they would have landed on those structures and not where the state said. So those were the arguments that they brought in, and zeroing in on the technicalities, really. Also looking at Larry Mavundla, who owns the company with accused number 2, the security company with accused number 2, stating that they had not brought him forward either for questioning or even as an accused, because if they were going to charge accused number 1 and 2, then Larry Mavundla must also be charged.
Sipha Kema giving us a day's wrap of the court proceedings in East London. Thank you very much for that update.